Welcome to the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I want you to do me a big favor before you check out this clip. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to throw in a comment and make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. And then I want you to share this video with your friends. Help us defeat the algorithm. And then if you like this content and you appreciate this content, please head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show and support the show. That is how we actually get funded to be able to do this. So we thank you very much for being here. And now enjoy the clip.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain on the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain on the track.
Earlier today, this was after I'd already had like our notes ready to go. I had our thumbnail out. I had everything. I thought we had like a full show, and then all of a sudden, Tim Marchman from Vice Media, he actually contacted John Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace himself, John Laurinaitis' lawyer. He is and Johnny Ace's lawyer claimed to Tim Marchman of Vice Media that he's a victim of Vince too. So we've got a little bit of a twist here. So he's not only is Johnny Ace corroborating everything that Vince is being accused of, he's saying he is not an abuser. He is actually another party that's been abused by Vince McMahon. And I'll go ahead and read some headlines from the story. So the co-defendant in an explosive civil sex trafficking lawsuit brought last week against WWE founder Vince McMahon and WWE itself. So there isn't just one entity on trial here. It's Vince McMahon and WWE. So let's not forget about that. Appeared to corroborate central claims in the suit in a statement to Vice News today, while disputing Laurinaitis' role as described in the complaint. Edward Brennan, the lawyer, said that his client is himself a victim, just like plaintiff Janelle Grant, a former WWE employee. Now, last week I did not want to say her name, but her name is everywhere, so it's like unavoidable at this point. So we're just gonna say it, okay? I did not want to, but it's out there, and it's being put out there by her lawyer, who's doing a lot of TV. So this is where we're at now. The story goes on to say Mr. Laurinaitis denies the allegations in the misguided complaint and will be vigorously defending these charges in court, not the media. Like the plaintiff, Mr. Laurinaitis is a victim in this case, not a predator. The truth will come out. He goes on to say, read the allegations, read the federal statute, power, control, employment, supervisory capacity, dictatorial sexual demands with repercussions if not met. Count how many times in the complaint Vince exerts control over the both of them. That is a bombshell, dude. That is a bombshell. It's wild.
Yeah, this is a lot. First, there's a lot going on in that. First of all, I'm gonna say Miss Grant is being remarkably brave by stepping front and owning up to, like, not owning up is the wrong term, because making it sound like she did something wrong, but I mean, like, standing out and saying, I'm fighting, I'm the one who's doing this, I was treated bad, and putting her name and putting her face along with that, and being poster child is another bad term, but I can't think of a better one. Like being the face.
She's
of this fight, you know. So that takes a lot of guts, and I give her a lot of credit for that, because you can't fault the victim for not wanting to go public, but the fact that she is willing to it says a lot about her character. That's something. So it's interesting what old Johnny Ace has to say. Motoko Baba's favorite wrestler. It sure sounds like he's saying that he also would have lost his job and standing in the company if he did not go in with Vince on this stuff. And that is I kind of get
that's
the lawyers saying that. That is wild. Yeah. I kind of get why the lawyers saying that, because you could talk your way into seeing like, okay, you know, like, okay, I can kind of get where they're coming from on this. These are such a sticky topic, but I mean, like, from a legal perspective, I understand why his lawyer is saying that. I know we had a buddy who's like, I think he's just trying to get more money out of WWE, and I'm like, gosh, I don't know, man. I think we're beyond the pale of that, like, because we're knocking on the door of criminal stuff at this point, and he's liable. I mean, because with what Miss Grant said, he is liable for criminal charges, so he is distancing himself and standing on the opposite side of the former law firm of Jerry McDivitt, which is gutsy in and of itself. So I mean, like, I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the criminal charges because this is being tried in civil court first. That I think
Right.
that it can be brought to criminal trial. Now, if it's the other way or like other way around, like you can't try the same crime twice unless there's like new evidence and things like that, obviously. But and the burden of proof is much smaller in a civil trial, but if you have some there, they can then be tried in a criminal case, and then the burden of proof is much higher. And so this whole thing's what the craziest part about it to me is that Johnny Ace is corroborating the story. He's just saying that his part in the whole thing is different, that he was being victimized too, that he was kind of being forced into these situations. And I honestly never in a million years would have even thought that. I was like, I was thinking, and and look, honestly, who knows what the real truth is here? And I think hopefully we get to the bottom of it. So I'm not going to say that what Johnny Ace is saying is true. I just think it's kind of crazy that he's corroborating the story. He's going against Vince, which is something that I never thought he would do because he's been quiet this whole time. Like he hadn't said anything. And here his lawyer is making a statement to Vice Media and that they're going to be in on it and essentially testifying against Vince.
We don't hear a lot of stories about men suffering from sexual assault or rape or those kind of things. Like it just isn't something, but it does happen. It just
it does. I can tell you in my position right now at work, being kind of a I'm not a first sergeant, but I'm kind of operating in that capacity. And you hear stories, and it happens more than people know, more than people will even think about. Because I'll be honest, because meathead dudes typically don't talk about it. Right.
Correct.
And so like that goes like I know on the female side it goes very, very, very underreported. It's wild, but that's where you mostly hear of it. But with the men, we just don't talk about stuff like that. It's a crazy culture, and so for this to come out now, I'm like, it's just truly, it just threw another wrench into this whole case. That I get the feeling is going to get a lot of play on a lot of the like Ashley Banfield and on News Nation is kind of like all over. Like she runs those types of shows like crime stories and salacious stories, and it's going to get a lot of play on shows like that going forward.
Yeah, I mean, like especially in tough macho world, like you don't hear stories about it's guys like Vince, right? And like if your boss, I mean, I'm not saying Johnny Ace is innocent.
No.
I'm not, because we don't know. Like, I'm not saying that, but I understand why he's saying this, because there are situations where men are pressured into these type of things unwillingly a lot of the time, and just because the parts work doesn't mean that those are just chemical reactions, man. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean you want to. Like, there's a lot. I don't know, man. I just. It's going to be, this is really bad for WWE that they're tied into this. It's really bad for Vince McMahon, but it's good that someone is finally fighting him, right? After 30 years of him skating by and just getting away with doing whatever he wanted. It's nice to see that justice, maybe won't be done necessarily, but that like someone is people take a real look at this and shining a light on a guy that people in our business knew what he was about all along. Even though the Jimmy Vans of the world will tell you how great Vince was and how much they appreciate Vince. And thank you, Vince, because I'm a rich dumb fuck who owns a big business and I have no spine. Thank you, Vince. I have zero respect for Fightful because of that guy. Zero. I'll say it. I don't fucking care. I'll never work for them. Fuck them.
Yeah, dude, people are bringing up those Jimmy Van tweets. I'm just like, the timing, bro. Like,
he knew.
God,
everyone knew.
Yeah, he knew.
Everyone knew.
Yeah.
Everyone knew. And the fact that you have the audacity to say that because you're a dumb rich guy, fuck him. Fuck the whole company, man. I don't care.
Yeah. Even so, look, we didn't know these details that we're reporting now, right? That's coming out now, but we have 40 years of history of allegations and accusations and everything. And so when Vince went down originally 2 years ago, there were people like this Jimmy Van guy and several others that were like taking to their social media, thanking him for his service, despite the fact, I'll be honest, and like AEW is going to catch a little bit of a stray here. Not completely AEW's fault, but their new the chief operations officer that they just
Me
hired
too.
was also one of those people, right? Like, so there's a ton of people out there, like when we've said, on in every promotion that was kind of going out there thanking this guy for his service, despite the fact that there was allegations that he denied. But now that these details are coming out and are like, most people are just quiet because these details are just so way out there and
That's
just
nothing.
like super bizarre. And I never, I'll be honest, JD, whenever the story first hit in 2022, my thing is that it was like, I could go either way on whether or not that was consensual. I was like, it's probably not. We kind of know who this guy is, but the denials were there. And it's like, you have to take those into account a little bit. So I was like, I was not 100%, right? Now I'm like, I'm obviously I'm no judge and jury. I don't operate in that capacity. I don't have like everybody's side of the story, but gun to my head, like this story is true. And the fact that Johnny Ace is corroborating it, I'm like, this story is absolutely true. And it is disgusting. You know who surprised me today? Commenting on the story. I'm not gonna give the guy flowers because I'm not gonna do that. But Eric Bischoff, believe it or not,
Yeah, I heard that.
on his show. Somebody's like, dude, did you hear what Eric said about it? I was like, no. And I figured Eric would go on there and kind of do his typical bullshit, carry Vince's water. He was like, no, this is the most evil thing I've ever heard. And we need to scrub him from the history books like we did Chris Benoit. Essentially, he's our Harvey Weinstein, just like I was saying last week. I was like, wow. And so that's like another reason that makes me think that this is a completely valid story, because who is Eric Bischoff's co-host in that show? Conrad. Who is Conrad's best friend?
Ric Flair.
Bruce Pritchard.
Bruce Pritchard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pritchard, who is currently an executive in WWE, right? So they were completely shocked and surprised by the details, and I think that's where kind of most people were at. Like, they knew this guy was a scumbag, but they didn't know he was this bad. You know what I mean?
So I think that I can almost, when you work, I mean, like when you get to know somebody, right? I had a friend, I'll tell you a story. I had a friend in college who was suspect with a lot of things, but when it came to girls, and he got arrested for rape and stood trial and was found innocent. But when it happened, we all kind of went, oh, okay. Like it was kind of like, yeah, okay, okay. I mean, like I heard the story. It was like, okay, I believe my friend's story, but I mean, like at the same time, there's part of it's like, but I was willing to believe my friend because he was my friend. It's like when people are in our lives, we see the good of them, and sometimes it's easier to overlook the mistakes that they made because we know them personally, right? And like we don't. It's harder to see the negative, right? When you see someone's brightness every day, but it's there. Right. So that's why I'm not as hard on people that were in the inner circle, because we had good, Black Mask will, pour out one for the Black Mask. May his account rest in peace. But I mean, like he would say, you don't know him like I do. You don't know him like I do. He's not this kind of guy. He's not this kind of guy. And this is a dude that worked there forever and would swear up and down Vince is not this monster. But it's easier to hide in front of people that you know. Right.
Yeah.
And when you could take like an analytical look at somebody, it's easier to say that guy's a piece of shit. So that's why I'm harder on people like Jimmy Van who pretend to have a media outlet that should know better. Like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But I can accept someone that worked for him that might have had the wool pulled underneath him, because when you know somebody, you want to believe the best in them, even if you're wrong.
Yeah. And I've encountered that situation a lot of times. And it's burned me sometimes, to be honest with you. And I'm like, well, fuck, I'm going to learn my lesson there, but I only learned my lesson with that person, because I still get, people get close to me and then I still just assume the best in them. And when they're in a tough spot, I go and I try to take care of them. And then sometimes it turns out they're guilty. Sometimes they're innocent. But I just try to, just be there for people as much as I can. But like once it's out and like, okay, you did this shit, like we're done, dude. Like that's where I draw the line.
Right.
But
and that's the thing. We talked about the scorpion and the frog analogy last week, and I mentioned my friend, and my friend stood trial, court of law, was proven innocent. But I mean, like, I like when the accusations come out, you're like, okay, all right, what happened? But you want to believe your friend, and it even becomes hard. Like you have to. when it's someone that you have to go into every situation open-minded and willing to listen. You can't just say no, 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 or yes, yes, yes. You have to listen. And in this case of Vince McMahon, I didn't read the full details until I read the Observer last week. And man, it was worse than I imagined. It really was. Like just the offhanded stuff that I read about from the part of the journal that we were allowed to read. I ain't paying for the Wall Street Journal. Like the whole thing with Dave Recap is just horrific, man. Horrific.
Yeah.